Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Valiant, watching the stars through the main viewport. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he barely noticed. The outer rim of human space was usually quiet, which made the sudden alarm from the communication station all the more startling. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal," called Communications Officer Danny Park. His voice carried a note of confusion. "It's on emergency frequencies, but the transmission is strange. The signal is weak and the language sounds broken." Morrison set down his coffee cup and walked over to Danny's station. "Put it through the speakers." The bridge filled with static, then a voice spoke in heavily accented English. "Please, help us. We are dying. Our ship is broken. We mean no harm to your people." Lieutenant Commander Lisa Rodriguez looked up from her science station. She was the ship's xenobiologist, and her eyes showed immediate interest. "Captain, that's not human speech patterns. The vocal structure suggests an entirely different species." Morrison nodded. "Danny, can you get a fix on their location?" "Working on it, sir. They're about 2 million kilometers off our starboard bow. The signal is getting weaker. Set course and engage engines. Best speed." Morrison turned to his second-in-command. "Ryan, sound general quarters. We don't know what we're walking into." Commander Ryan Bell immediately began issuing orders. The Valiant's crew moved with practiced efficiency, preparing the ship for any situation. The massive vessel changed course, its powerful engines pushing it through space toward the source of the distress call. As they approached, the main screen showed a damaged alien vessel. It was unlike anything in human databases. The ship looked organic with flowing curves and what appeared to be living metal. Large sections of the hull were blackened and torn. "Captain," Lisa said, studying her readings, "I'm detecting life signs aboard that vessel. At least 50 individuals, but their biosignatures are fading fast." Morrison made his decision quickly. "Hail them again. Tell them we're here to help." Danny opened a channel. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Morrison of the human ship Valiant. We're here to assist you." The response came immediately. "Human ship. Thank the stars. Please, we need medical help. Our people are dying. We have children aboard." The desperation in the alien voice was clear. Morrison felt his chest tighten. "Tell them we're bringing them aboard. Lisa, get down to the docking bay and prepare a reception team. I want medical personnel standing by." As the alien ship limped closer, Morrison could see it was barely holding together. Whatever had attacked them had been thorough and brutal. The Valiant's massive docking bay opened to receive the smaller vessel. 20 minutes later, Morrison stood in the docking bay watching as the alien ship landed with a grinding sound of damaged metal. The bay's atmosphere was immediately adjusted to support both human and alien life, based on Lisa's quick analysis of their ship's environment. The alien vessel's door opened with a hiss. The first being to emerge was tall and slender, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. It moved carefully as if expecting an attack. Behind it came others, many carrying injured companions. Morrison stepped forward, his hands visible and empty. "I'm Captain Morrison. You're safe now." The lead alien stopped and stared at him. When it spoke, its voice shook. "You are human? We have heard stories. We did not know if they were true. I am human. We all are." Morrison gestured to his crew. "What's your name?" "I am Ambassador Kethavar of the Zalari people." The alien's head moved in what might have been a bow. "We have traveled far to find sanctuary. Our homeworld has fallen to the Dominion Empire." Lisa stepped forward with her medical scanner. "Ambassador, may I examine your people? We want to help your injured." Kethavar looked surprised. "You would treat our wounded? Without payment or conditions?" "Of course," Morrison said. "That's what people do for each other." Dr. Patricia Young arrived with her medical team. She immediately began tending to the most severely injured Zalari. As she worked, Morrison could see tears in her eyes. The aliens bore signs of prolonged abuse and starvation. "Captain," Kethavar said quietly, "your people show us kindness we have not experienced in many cycles. Most species we encounter see us as inferior. They either turn us away or try to enslave us." Morrison felt anger rising in his chest. "That won't happen here. Tell me about this Dominion Empire." Over the next hour, Kethavar explained their situation. The Dominion was a military empire that conquered peaceful worlds and enslaved their populations. The Zalari had tried to resist, but were overwhelmed by superior numbers and brutal tactics. "Our ships were destroyed or captured," Kethavar said. "Only a few escaped with refugees. We have been wandering space for months looking for someone who would help us. Commander Bell joined the conversation. How many of your people are still out there? Perhaps 10,000 scattered across this part of the galaxy. Maybe fewer now. The Dominion hunts us wherever we go. Morrison looked around the docking bay. His crew was working alongside the Zalari, sharing food and medical supplies. Dr. Young was teaching human medical techniques to a Zalari healer who seemed eager to learn. Ambassador, Morrison said, I need to contact my superiors, but I can tell you this. You and your people are welcome here. We'll find a way to help the others too. Kethavar's large eyes widened. You would do this? Risk conflict with the Dominion for strangers? You're not strangers anymore, Morrison replied. You're refugees who need help. That's enough for us. As the evening continued, Morrison watched his crew interacting with the Zalari. The aliens were amazed by everything they saw aboard the Valiant. Chief Engineer Tony Garcia was explaining the ship's systems to a group of Zalari technicians who seemed shocked by the vessel's robust construction. Your ship is built like a fortress, one of them said. How does it move through space with such heavy armor? Tony grinned. We build everything tough. Space is dangerous, and Earth taught us to be ready for anything. Morrison overheard the conversation and smiled. The Zalari were beginning to understand that humans were different from other species they had encountered. They didn't know yet just how different. That night, as the Zalari settled into temporary quarters, Morrison sent a detailed report to Fleet Command. He requested permission to offer formal asylum to the refugees and suggested that humanity take a stand against the Dominion Empire. As he prepared for sleep, Morrison reflected on the day's events. The Zalari seemed like good people who had suffered greatly. If the Dominion Empire made a habit of bullying peaceful species, perhaps it was time they met someone who could fight back. The stars outside his cabin window seemed brighter somehow, as if they approved of humanity's first steps onto the galactic stage as protectors rather than conquerors. 3 days had passed since the Zalari refugees came aboard the Valiant. Captain Morrison watched as his crew worked alongside the aliens, sharing meals and stories. The integration was going better than he had hoped, but he could see questions in the Zalari's large, dark eyes. Chief Engineer Tony Garcia was giving a tour of the engine room to several Zalari technicians. Morrison decided to join them, curious about their reactions to human technology. This is our main fusion reactor, Tony explained, pointing to a massive, heavily shielded cylinder. It runs at temperatures that would melt most metals. The containment field has triple redundancy. One of the Zalari engineers, a female named Veltara, stared at the reactor with obvious fear. How do you sleep knowing such power exists beneath your feet? Tony laughed. Sleep better, actually. This baby can run for years without maintenance. We built it to survive anything space can throw at us. Another Zalari asked, what if the containment fails? Then the backup systems kick in, Tony replied cheerfully. And if those fail, we have emergency protocols. But honestly, these reactors are tougher than the ships that carry them. Ambassador Kethavar joined the group, still moving carefully as he recovered from his injuries. Your technology seems designed for warfare. Are humans a military species? Morrison stepped forward. We're explorers, but we learned early that space is dangerous. Our ships need to survive in places where most vessels would be destroyed. As if summoned by his words, the ship's alarm system activated. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. Captain to the bridge. We're receiving a distress call from Research Station Alpha 7. Morrison excused himself and hurried to the bridge. The Zalari followed at a distance, curious about the sudden activity. Report, Morrison ordered as he took his captain's chair. Research Station Alpha 7 is caught in a solar storm, Lisa explained. They lost their shields and are requesting immediate evacuation. The storm is getting worse. Navigator Helen Carter looked up from her console. Captain, the station is at the edge of a Class 5 solar flare. The radiation levels are off the charts. Morrison studied the tactical display. The research station was surrounded by a swirling mass of charged particles and electromagnetic energy. Any normal ship approaching would be fried by the radiation. Set course for the station, Morrison ordered. Maximum speed. The Zalari refugees on the bridge gasped in unison. Kethavar stepped forward. Captain, surely you cannot mean to fly into that storm. It will destroy your ship. Morrison looked at him with surprise. Our shields can handle it. We've flown through worse. As the Valiant approached the solar storm, the view screen showed a spectacular and terrifying display. Streams of plasma twisted through space like living creatures. The radiation was so intense it created visible auroras against the ship's shields. The Zalari watched in terror as the human ship plunged directly into the storm. They expected alarms, emergency protocols, or at least some sign of concern from the crew. Instead, they saw humans working calmly at their stations as if flying through a solar storm was routine. "Shields holding at 87%, reported the tactical officer. Well within normal parameters. Dr. Patricia Young joined the bridge, bringing with her the Zalari medical officer Nethali. The alien healer was shaking as she watched the storm rage around them. "How is this possible?" Nethali whispered. "The energy levels would cook any living thing." Dr. Young smiled. "Our shield technology is based on Earth's magnetic field. Our planet taught us how to deflect stellar radiation." Through the storm they could see Research Station Alpha 7, its hull glowing red from radiation exposure. The station's remaining crew was huddled in a shielded compartment, waiting for rescue. "Transport the crew directly to our medical bay," Morrison ordered. "The storm is interfering with normal docking procedures." Within minutes, the station's crew materialized in the Valiant's transporter room. They were suffering from radiation exposure but would recover with treatment. As the Valiant withdrew from the solar storm, Kethvar approached Morrison. "Captain, I must ask, are all human ships capable of such feats?" Morrison considered the question. "Most of them, yes. We build for survival first, everything else second." Commander Ryan Bell overheard the conversation. "Ambassador, would you like to see our navigation charts? It might help explain human ship design." The charts Helen Carter displayed showed human shipping routes that passed through asteroid fields, radiation zones, and gravitational anomalies. The Zalari stared in amazement at paths that crossed regions they considered completely impassable. "Your people travel through death zones for routine commerce?" Velterra asked. Helen nodded. "We have to. The shortest routes between human colonies often pass through dangerous regions. We learned to build ships that could handle anything." Over the following days, more examples accumulated. The Valiant routinely performed maneuvers that terrified the Zalari. The ship passed close to neutron stars to use their gravity for course corrections. It flew through asteroid fields at speeds that would be suicidal for most vessels. During one particularly impressive display, Tony Garcia demonstrated the ship's repair systems by allowing a small meteor to strike the hull. The Zalari watched in amazement as automated systems immediately sealed the breach and restored hull integrity. "Your ship heals itself," Kethvar observed. "All human ships do," Tony replied. "Space throws a lot at you. We learned to build vessels that could take damage and keep fighting." Communications Officer Danny Park had been monitoring galactic communication networks. He brought Morrison some interesting intelligence during the morning briefing. "Captain, I've been listening to chatter from various alien fleets. They have some interesting names for human ships." Morrison raised an eyebrow. "Such as?" "Void fortresses, Deathworld constructs, and my personal favorite, the ships that laugh at space itself." The Zalari refugees had gathered to listen. Nethali spoke up. "We had heard rumors before we met you. Stories of a species that built ships like weapons and traveled where others feared to go." Dr. Young added her own observations. "I've been studying Zalari physiology. Your people evolved on a very stable, peaceful world. Low gravity, stable climate, few natural predators." "Yes," Kethvar confirmed. "Our homeworld was paradise. We never needed to struggle for survival." Morrison nodded thoughtfully. "Earth was different. High gravity, extreme weather, massive predators, geological instability. Every day was a fight to survive." "That explains much," Kethvar said. "Your species was forged by hardship. It shows in everything you build." Lisa Rodriguez had been analyzing data from the Zalari ship. "Ambassador, your vessel's construction is elegant but fragile. It was designed for peaceful exploration in safe regions." "Yes," Kethvar replied sadly. "We never imagined we would need to flee through dangerous space or fight for our lives." As the week continued, word spread among the Zalari refugees about their human protectors. They shared stories of ships that flew through solar storms, navigated asteroid fields, and shrugged off damage that would destroy other vessels. The revelation went deeper than just technology. The Zalari began to understand that humans themselves were different. They watched human children play games that involved mock combat and dangerous stunts. They saw humans laugh at situations that would terrify other species. During a meal in the main dining hall, a young Zalari asked Dr. Young, "Are all human worlds like Earth?" "Most of our colonies are on planets other species consider uninhabitable," she replied. "High radiation, extreme weather, dangerous wildlife. We call them home." Kethvar listened to these conversations with growing amazement. "Your people seek out danger. You colonize worlds that others flee from." Morrison joined the conversation. "We go where we're needed. If a world is too dangerous for others, someone needs to claim it. Might as well be us." The Zalari were beginning to understand that they had found refuge with perhaps the most formidable species in the galaxy. Humans didn't just survive in dangerous conditions, they thrived in them. As the Valiant continued its patrol, carrying its precious cargo of refugees, the Zalari spread word to other refugee ships. Humanity offered not just sanctuary, but protection by beings who had turned survival into an art form. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone threatened those under humanity's protection. The peaceful routine aboard the Valiant was shattered when Danny Park's console erupted in urgent alerts. Captain Morrison was reviewing supply reports when the communications officer's voice cut through the bridge's quiet hum. "Captain, long-range sensors are picking up multiple contacts. 12 ships, unknown configuration, approaching fast from Sector 7. Morrison was on his feet instantly. "Classification?" "Working on it, sir." Danny's fingers flew over his controls. "Wait, I'm getting a transmission. It's in the same language the Zalari use, but different dialect." Ambassador Kethvar, who had been observing bridge operations, went rigid. His pale blue skin turned even paler. "Captain, may I hear this transmission?" Morrison nodded. The bridge speakers filled with harsh, guttural sounds that made the Zalari refugees recoil in fear. Kethvar translated, his voice shaking. "It is the Dominion Empire. War Prince Garkle commands this fleet. He demands the immediate surrender of all Zalari refugees." Lieutenant Commander Lisa Rodriguez looked up from her science station. "Captain, those ships are massive. Each one is nearly twice the size of the Valiant." Morrison studied the tactical display. 12 Dominion battle cruisers were arranged in attack formation, their weapons already powered. "Danny, get me Admiral White, priority channel." Within minutes, Admiral Karen White's image appeared on the main screen. The commander of the human fleet looked calm but alert. "Jake, what's your situation?" 12 Dominion battle cruisers demanding we hand over our Zalari refugees. They're in attack formation and closing fast." Admiral White's expression hardened. "Like hell they are. I'm dispatching the Titan and Guardian to your position. Captain Johnson and the Ranger is already en route." Morrison felt relief at the knowledge that help was coming. "What are our orders regarding the Dominion, Admiral?" "The refugees are under human protection now. Anyone who wants to harm them goes through us first." White's voice carried the authority of someone who had never backed down from a fight. As the Admiral signed off, another transmission came through from the Dominion fleet. This time, the message was in broken English. "Human vessel, you interfere in Dominion internal affairs. The Zalari criminals belong to us. Surrender them immediately or face destruction." Morrison looked at Kethvar, whose people had gathered on the bridge to hear their fate decided. "What crimes are they talking about?" "The crime of existing," Kethvar replied bitterly. "The Dominion considers all non-Dominion species to be inferior. We committed the crime of refusing to become slaves." Morrison activated the communication system. "Dominion fleet, this is Captain Morrison of the UES Valiant. The individuals you call criminals are refugees under human protection. They will not be surrendered." The response came quickly, filled with anger. "Human, you do not understand what you face. We are the Dominion Empire. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. Your single ship cannot stand against our might." "You're right," Morrison replied calmly. "One ship can't. Good thing we don't fight alone." As if summoned by his words, 3 more human vessels dropped out of hyperspace. The massive UES Titan, flagship of Admiral White, took position alongside the Valiant. The UES Guardian and UES Ranger formed a protective line around Morrison's ship. Commander Ryan Bell watched the tactical display with satisfaction. 4 ships against 12. I like those odds. The Zalari refugees looked confused. "Commander, how can 4 ships defeat 12? Veltara asked. Ryan smiled grimly. "You're about to see why other species call us the Deathworld fleet." Admiral White's voice filled the bridge as she addressed the Dominion fleet. "War Prince Garkul, you are in human space without permission. You have threatened refugees under our protection. You have exactly 1 hour to withdraw your forces. The Dominion response was swift and arrogant. Human Admiral, you make threats you cannot enforce. Our ships outnumber yours 3-1. Our weapons are superior. Submit now and we may allow your crews to live as servants. The laughter from Admiral White was cold and dangerous. War Prince, you're about to learn the difference between quantity and quality. This is your final warning. Aboard the Valiant, Lieutenant Colonel Amy Phillips was preparing her Marine contingent for possible boarding actions. She briefed her troops on Dominion military capabilities while the Zalari watched in amazement. Remember, these aliens are used to fighting species that run from combat, Phillips told her Marines. They've never faced humans before. Use that advantage. Dr. Patricia Young was converting the medical bay into a trauma center, expecting casualties. Nethali, the Zalari healer, assisted her while asking questions about human combat medicine. Your people prepare for battle as if it were routine, Nethali observed. For us, it is, Dr. Young replied. Earth taught us that conflict is part of life. We learned to be ready for it. Chief Engineer Tony Garcia was making final checks on the ship's systems. The Zalari engineers watched as he ran diagnostics on weapons that could punch through asteroid-sized targets. Your ship carries enough firepower to level a city, one of them said. Most human ships do, Tony replied matter-of-factly. We never know what we might need to fight. On the bridge, navigator Helen Carter was plotting potential battle courses through the local system. The Zalari were amazed to see her planning maneuvers that would take the human fleet through an asteroid field and past a radiation zone. You plan to fight in dangerous space? Kethver asked. We fight where our enemies can't follow, Helen explained. It's one of our advantages. The hour deadline approached with no sign of Dominion withdrawal. If anything, the alien ships had moved closer, their weapons trained on the human vessels. Morrison addressed his crew over the ship's intercom. All hands, this is the captain. In a few minutes, we're going to show the Dominion Empire what happens when they threaten innocent people. Do your duty, protect our guests, and remember that Earth is watching. Similar addresses came from the other human ships. The Zalari listened to messages of determination and protective fury from crews who had never met them before today. Why do you do this? Kethavar asked Morrison. Why risk your lives for strangers? Morrison considered the question. Because it's right. Because someone needs to stand up to bullies. Because that's what humans do. The final minutes ticked away. Dominion ships powered up their weapons, confident in their numerical superiority. They had defeated dozens of species using the same intimidation tactics. But humans were different. Humans came from a world that had tried to kill them every day for millions of years. They had learned not just to survive, but to fight back against impossible odds. Admiral White's voice carried across all human ships. All vessels, this is White. The Dominion has refused to withdraw. They want to fight. Let's give them one they'll never forget. The Dominion War Prince sent one final message dripping with contempt. So be it, humans. Your destruction will serve as an example to others who defy the Dominion. Morrison looked at the faces around his bridge. His crew was calm, focused, ready. The Zalari refugees watched with a mixture of fear and hope. All stations report ready, Ryan announced. Morrison nodded. Then let's show them what Earth's children can do. The battle for humanity's first alien refugees was about to begin. Across human space, other crews would hear the story and know that their species had taken its first step as protectors of the innocent. The Dominion Empire was about to learn why humans were called the Deathworld species. The first shots came from the Dominion fleet as War Prince Garkul ordered his battlecruisers to open fire. Massive energy beams lanced through space toward the human ships, expecting to overwhelm them with sheer firepower. Captain Morrison watched calmly as the Valiant's shields absorbed the incoming fire, shields holding at 92%. Return fire. The human response was immediate and devastating. Where the Dominion fired wild spreads of energy, human weapons were precisely targeted. The Valiant's missiles struck the lead Dominion ship's weapon systems, disabling 3 of its main guns in the opening exchange. Admiral White's voice carried across the fleet channel. All ships execute Battle Plan Alpha. Show them how humans fight. The 4 human vessels suddenly scattered in different directions, confusing the Dominion commanders who expected a traditional line battle. The Titan accelerated toward a nearby nebula, while the Guardian dove below the plane of battle. Morrison led the Valiant and Ranger toward an asteroid field that the Dominion had avoided. "Helen, take us through the rocks. Maximum speed." Navigator Helen Carter's fingers flew over her controls. "Aye, Captain." Course plotted through the densest section. The Zalari refugees on the bridge watched in terror as the human ships plunged into the asteroid field at velocities that seemed suicidal. Massive rocks larger than buildings flashed past the viewports. "This is madness," whispered Veltara. "No ship can navigate such dangers at these speeds." Commander Ryan Bell overheard her. "Human pilots train in asteroid fields from their academy days. We call this Tuesday. The Dominion ships tried to follow but immediately ran into trouble. Their targeting systems, designed for open space combat, couldn't track multiple fast-moving targets among the asteroids. 2 Dominion battlecruisers collided with large rocks, their shields failing under the impact. Captain Steve Johnson's voice came over the communication channel from the Ranger. "Jake, I'm reading confusion in their formations. They don't know how to fight in this environment." Morrison smiled grimly. "Then let's make it worse. Helen, plot a course toward that radiation zone near the dying star." As the human ships emerged from the asteroid field, they found the Dominion fleet in disarray. 3 ships had been damaged by asteroid impacts, and their formation was scattered. Chief Tactical Officer Ben Crawford coordinated the counterattack from his position aboard the Titan. "All ships, concentrate fire on the damaged vessels. Don't let them regroup." Human missiles streaked through space with deadly accuracy. The weapons were designed to function in the harsh environment of space, unaffected by radiation or electromagnetic interference that plagued Dominion systems. 1 Dominion battlecruiser exploded in a brilliant flash as its reactor containment failed. The Zalari refugees gasped at the sudden destruction, but human crews barely reacted. They had seen worse in training exercises. War Prince Garkel's angry voice filled the communication channels as he tried to rally his forces. "All ships pursue the humans. They are cowards who run from honorable battle." The Dominion fleet gave chase, but the humans led them toward the radiation zone surrounding a pulsar. The intense electromagnetic field from the neutron star interfered with Dominion sensors and communication systems. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Rodriguez monitored the enemy fleet from her science station. "Captain, the Dominion ships are having trouble with their targeting systems. The radiation is scrambling their electronics. But not ours," Morrison noted with satisfaction. "Human technology was designed to function in environments that would cripple other species' equipment." Admiral White led the Titan directly into the pulsar's radiation field. The massive human flagship disappeared into the swirling energy, only to emerge behind the Dominion formation with all weapons blazing. "Surprise!" White's voice carried grim amusement as the Titan's heavy guns tore into the rear of the enemy fleet. The Guardian, commanded by Captain Maria Santos, used the radiation as cover to approach undetected. Her ship emerged from the electromagnetic storm like a ghost, missiles already launching at point-blank range. 2 more Dominion ships were crippled in the surprise attack. Their crews panicked as systems failed, and life support became unreliable in the hostile environment. Morrison coordinated with the other human captains as they executed pinpoint strikes against confused enemies. "Danny, monitor their communications. I want to know what they're saying." Communications Officer Danny Park listened to the increasingly frantic Dominion transmissions. "Captain, they're reporting system failures across their fleet. Several ships are requesting permission to withdraw." The Zalari refugees listened to the translated communications with amazement. The mighty Dominion Empire, which had conquered their homeworld with ease, was being systematically destroyed by 4 human ships. "How is this possible?" Kethavar asked Dr. Patricia Young, who was monitoring casualty reports. "Your ships are outnumbered 3 to 1. "The Dominion made a mistake," Dr. Young replied. "They thought numbers were all that mattered. They forgot that humans fight differently." Chief Engineer Tony Garcia was pushing the Valiant's engines beyond normal limits, but the ship's robust construction handled the stress easily. Dominion vessels, built for intimidation rather than endurance, were beginning to show wear from the extended battle. The turning point came when Morrison led his squadron in a coordinated attack on the Dominion flagship. War Prince Garkul's massive battlecruiser was the largest ship in the enemy fleet, bristling with weapons and armor. "All ships, concentrate fire on the flagship," Morrison ordered. "Let's cut the head off this snake." The 4 human ships converged on the Dominion flagship from different angles. their weapons synchronized for maximum effect. The alien ship's shields flared and failed under the precisely coordinated assault. War Prince Garkul's desperate voice filled the communication channels. Impossible. Our ships are superior. Our technology is advanced. Admiral White's response was cold and final. Your ships are big. Ours are better. The Dominion flagship's main reactor went critical as human weapons penetrated its core systems. The massive vessel broke apart in a spectacular explosion that lit up the battlefield. With their leader dead and half their fleet destroyed or crippled, the remaining Dominion ships finally broke and ran. The proud empire that had terrorized peaceful species across the galaxy was in full retreat from 4 human vessels. Morrison watched the enemy ships flee toward the edge of the system. Should we pursue, Admiral? Negative, White replied. Let them go. Let them spread the word about what happens when you threaten our people. As the battle ended, human crews began rescue operations for Dominion survivors. The aliens were shocked to receive medical aid from the same humans who had just defeated them. Nethali assisted Dr. Young in treating wounded Dominion soldiers. Your people show mercy to enemies who would have enslaved you? We fight when we have to, Dr. Young explained. But we don't murder helpless wounded. That's the difference between us and them. The Zalari refugees watched human medics working to save Dominion lives and realized they had found protectors who were not just powerful, but honorable. War Prince Garkul's second-in-command transmitted a final message before the Dominion retreat. This is not over, humans. The Empire will remember this defeat. Morrison's response was broadcast on all frequencies for any Dominion ship to hear. Good, remember it well. And remember that Earth's children protect the innocent. Come for our people again, and we'll remind you why other species call us the Deathworld Fleet. As the human ships regrouped, the Zalari refugees realized they had witnessed something historic. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as protectors willing to fight impossible odds for strangers. The battle was over, but its effects would ripple across the galaxy for generations to come. 3 weeks after the battle, Captain Morrison stood in the Valiant's main conference room watching Admiral Karen White meet with Ambassador Cathvar. The formal negotiations for Zalari Asylum had been ongoing for days, but Morrison could see that something deeper was being discussed. Ambassador, Admiral White said, leaning forward across the polished table, your people have suffered greatly. We want to help, but we need to understand what you're hoping for. Cathavar's large eyes reflected both gratitude and uncertainty. Admiral, we have wandered space for months seeking only a safe place to exist. We never dared hope for what you offer. Behind him, several other Zalari representatives nodded in agreement. They had been gathering on human ships from across the sector as word spread about the defeat of War Prince Garkul's fleet. What we offer is partnership, Admiral White continued. Not charity, not protection without purpose. We believe your people can contribute to our growing understanding of the galaxy. Dr. Patricia Young entered the conference room with Nethali, carrying data tablets with medical research. Admiral, you need to see this. Our medical exchange program has produced remarkable results. The human doctor activated a holographic display showing comparative biology data. Zalari healing techniques are incredibly advanced. Their knowledge of regenerative medicine could revolutionize human healthcare. Nethali spoke up, her voice gaining confidence. Your human medicine amazes us as well. You have conquered diseases and injuries that we thought impossible to treat. Morrison watched the exchange with interest. The partnership between humans and Zalari was growing beyond simple protection into genuine cooperation. Chief Engineer Tony Garcia arrived with Veltara and several other Zalari technicians. Admiral, you asked for our preliminary report on technology sharing. Tony activated another display showing hybrid ship designs. Zalari manufacturing techniques could make our ships even more efficient. Their molecular engineering is centuries ahead of ours. Veltara pointed to various design elements. Human engineering philosophy emphasizes durability and function. Combined with our precision manufacturing, we could create vessels superior to anything either species has built alone. Admiral White nodded thoughtfully. This is exactly what we hope to achieve. Not dependence, but mutual benefit. Communications Officer Danny Park entered the room with urgent news. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from multiple species across the sector. Word about our protection of the Zalari has spread. What kind of transmissions? Morrison asked. Requests for asylum, trade negotiations, and offers of alliance. The Cathani Republic wants to establish formal diplomatic relations. The Nethys Collective is requesting humanitarian aid for their refugee population. Ambassador Kethvar looked amazed. Your victory over the Dominion has given hope to species across this region of space. Many have suffered under their oppression. Admiral White considered this development. We'll need to be careful. We can't protect everyone, and we don't want to overextend our capabilities. Over the following days, Morrison watched as the implications of humanity's first major galactic conflict became clear. The Valiant was assigned to escort Zalari refugee ships to new settlements in human space. The first settlement was established on Kepler 442b, a world that other species considered too hostile for colonization. The high radiation levels and extreme weather patterns made it a perfect fit for human engineering standards. Morrison stood on the colony's first administrative building, watching Zalari families emerge from transport ships. They looked uncertain about their new home's harsh environment, but hopeful about their future. Captain, Kethvar approached him. I must ask again. Why do your people choose to help us? What do humans gain from protecting refugees? Morrison considered the question carefully. We gain allies. We gain knowledge. We gain the satisfaction of knowing we did the right thing. Commander Ryan Bell joined them, carrying reports from other refugee settlements. Jake, Admiral White wants your opinion on the expansion plan. The expansion plan was ambitious. Humanity proposed establishing a formal refugee protection program, with ships and colonies dedicated to providing sanctuary for displaced populations. The Zalari won't be the last, Morrison observed. The galaxy has a lot of bullies like the Dominion. Someone needs to stand up to them. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Rodriguez had been studying galactic politics from her new position as human liaison to refugee species. Captain, we're seeing a shift in the balance of power. Species that were afraid to resist oppression are finding courage. Her analysis was correct. Across the sector, worlds that had submitted to Dominion taxation and control were declaring independence. The defeat of War Prince Garkul had broken the spell of Dominion invincibility. Dr. Young established medical training programs where human doctors taught emergency trauma care to alien medics. The techniques designed for treating injuries on dangerous worlds proved invaluable for species living under oppression. Chief Engineer Garcia worked with Zalari technicians to upgrade refugee ships with human-designed life support systems. The hybrid technology allowed alien vessels to operate in environments previously considered lethal. Navigator Helen Carter trained alien pilots in defensive maneuvering through hazardous space. The skills that humans took for granted could mean the difference between escape and capture for refugee ships. 6 months after first contact, Morrison attended the formal signing of the Human-Zalari Mutual Defense Pact. The ceremony took place aboard the new joint design vessel UES Harmony, built using hybrid technology. This alliance represents more than mutual protection, Ambassador Kethvar said during his speech. It represents hope for a galaxy where might does not always make right. Admiral White, now promoted to Fleet Admiral for her role in establishing humanity's galactic presence, addressed the assembled delegates from multiple species. We don't seek to build an empire, she declared. We seek to build a community where peaceful species can thrive without fear. The audience included representatives from dozens of species that had requested human protection or alliance. The Dominion. Empire's former victims were organizing into a loose confederation with humanity at its center. Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of the first refugee protection fleet. His new flagship, the UES Guardian Angel, was designed specifically for rescue and protection missions. As he stood on his new bridge, watching mixed crews of humans and various alien species working together, Morrison reflected on how much had changed since that first distress call. The Zalari refugees had become valued allies and friends. Their settlements in human space were thriving, contributing to scientific research and cultural exchange. Many had chosen to serve aboard human ships, bringing their unique skills to the growing fleet. Veltara, now Chief Engineering Officer aboard the Guardian Angel, approached Morrison with the daily status report. Admiral, All systems are optimal. The hybrid technology is performing beyond expectations. Through the main viewport, Morrison could see a convoy of refugee ships approaching from the outer system. The passengers were Bethani civilians fleeing civil war in their home sector, the latest group seeking humanity's protection. "Take us out to meet them," Morrison ordered. "Let's bring them home." As the guardian angel moved to escort the refugee convoy, Morrison smiled at the thought that home now meant something much larger than Earth. Humanity had found its purpose among the stars, not as conquerors but as guardians. The galaxy was still dangerous, still full of predators and bullies, but now it also had protectors who had learned the value of compassion from a harsh world that had made them strong. The Deathworld fleet had become something greater than anyone imagined. It had become hope itself, sailing between the stars to defend those who could not defend themselves. And in the depths of space, on ships bearing the flags of a dozen species, children who had known only fear were learning to dream of peace.